document that you will find on your course shell as well. I'm just discussing this one. Again, this is the lecture slide for the scalar functions. We'll see some scalar functions this week as well. So scalar functions, introduction to scalar functions. What are those scalar functions? Actually, when we see, let's talk about scalar functions can be used in the column list in any search condition. Let's give me a second. Right. Second. So it just keeps on popping here. It might not be appearing on your screen, but in my screen it just appears. Anyhow, so SQL functions can be used in the columns list in any of the search conditions. And what will happen is that in a statement including where and having clauses and join condition, even an order by clause, something that we have not discussed and we'll discuss with the passage of time. Functions can accept 0, 1 or more arguments. They would be able to accept some arguments. They can return 0 or 1 values. Many functions such as get, date, and upper are built into SQL Server. So we'll talk about some of the built-in functions. We'll talk about some of the functions that might not be built in that we will be creating by ourselves. So it is possible for a developer to write their own SQL functions termed as user-defined functions. Scalar functions, some of them we'll talk about the built-in one and some of them we'll talk about. So look at that, some of them. Select 2 plus 2. It's basically simply just it will return 4 to me. Select get date. We have used that one. SQRT for square. SoundX is one of the function that is interesting that converts any string into a, I will just, just show you that it over there rather just clicking on that one. So if you just come here and we write that SoundX over here, and if I run this one, look at that. It just, converts it. It's a SoundX function that converts numbers into some of the values. So if you see that maybe OISELIUS, it just gives some of the meanings. If you just look at some of the theoretical aspects of this one, I'll show you. SoundX in SQL. Look at that. So let's talk about the W3 School SoundX. And for example, this one. So definitely the SoundX function returns a 4-character code to evaluate the similarity of two expressions. The SoundX convert the string to a 4-character code based on how the string sounds when spoken. So basically, it converts that one into that one. So if you look at that one, for example, if you see here, so if I just run SQL, so you see that it, for example, if you look at that one, it's SoundX banana. It just says just B comes up like that one, and then it converts and according to the some of the which are, if you have any vowels available or consonants available, it basically runs on the basis of that. So if I just run this one again, if it is running exactly with the same, so that is basically SoundX. It's a default function that would just do that. So it converts a return 4-character code to evaluate the similarity of two expressions. If we want to evaluate the similarity of two expressions, and we can just work with them. So SoundX. Now then we have some others one as well. If I just come here, so if I see that, select invoice number, date part. So date part is a scalar function that will take out month from the date, and it will just call that as date. So let's run this one. Let's try to run this one, and we'll see that what it will generate for us. So let's copy this one, and I come here and I run. And again, we are running this all in the SIS. Remember, SIS should be there. So if I run that one, look at that. So what it has done, from the date part, it has taken out the month and call it as a month. So as is basically aliasing. If you guys remember that we have talked about last week, that aliasing is there, that we give as, and we can give any name to a particularly any any of the columns. So it is coming up as a month name from DBO audit. We can write only audit as well, from table audit as well. So invoice number and date. So it is bringing invoice number, and it is bringing date, and date part, from the date part, it is taking out just the month from there, and it is just bringing it as month over here. Makes sense, which is 5 right now. So if I just come here and I say YY, for example, let's say if YY, I want to have this YY over there. You see that the year comes, but again, I'll have to change maybe the aliasing over there. But anyhow, it's basically it takes out the date part from that one, right? And then let's talk about this one. Select distinct substring main phone 1, 3 as prefix. Now look at that. It will just take out how many of the phone numbers have distinct area code or something. Let's come back over here and let's run that one. And from the person table. So we have a person table over here as well. If I just come here and I write that one, you look at that. It is just taking out, wherever there are 3, there are 2, it just takes out those strings and it just shows that these are the distinct area codes. If we do not make distinct, it will bring out the area codes for everything. That might be a big list, right? So it might be a very big list because it is just not distinct. So it says 434 rows. And if I just make it distinct, look at that. If I make it a distinct and it will just run that. Okay. Distinct spelling is wrong. Okay. So now let's run that one. Oh, the query is running. Oh, it's taking long. You see that query is taking seconds, like, to run that one. So anyhow, so 44 rows, just 44 rows because these are distinct one, right? So these are distinct queries. Scanner functions in where clause, where we want to just, put the condition as we have just seen. Select invoice number, date from audit, where date part month is equal to 8. Just bring out August transactions. Look at that. Just bring out August transactions. So I'll just come here and I'll write that over here. So August transaction means August month is equal to 8. So it is just running, the query is running, and it does not show any of the data maybe, or it is query executed successfully. It's not showing anything. That date is equal to 8 is not running. So for example, if I say 5, let's say that for my transaction. So you see that May transaction it is showing 7 May or something. It is showing the transactions, right? So that is basically what that is, from the where part in where we have just given, take out the part of the date. And after taking out the part of the date, just give us some particular one. In the same way, here, if you look at that, this one, select last name and first name from person, where upper substring last name 1, 2. So take out the substring from the last name and, change that to the uppercase and see if it is matching to MC. You see, these are all the functions that are very interesting string functions. We'll see some of the other string functions as well. So, we can use all these functions in our SQL queries. And that is quite an interesting job because, we will be just, working with this chaining of the functions. Look at that. So these are the name whose, like, from the last name, just it has taken out from the first position 2 characters. So Mac, whatever has MC over there, that would just appear over here. Make sense, everyone? So it is for the last name, substring for the last name. It is just applying for the last name. You may apply it for the first name or something, whatever. This is up to you. Right? So these are some of them. So some substring function is a very interesting one. String start and count. How many numbers you have to count and from where you have to start. So look at this example. It starts from the 1 position and counts 2 characters. From this one, start from the 1 position in the city and count 3 values. So it will just bring out the 3 values. In SQL, strings are indexed starting with 1, not 0. So string, yes, this is a very important considerations because usually when we study arrays, we know that arrays that the index number starts with 0. But here in SQL Server, the strings starts with one index number. So that means that we will start 1 to 3, not 0 to 3. Right? Let's do that. So 1, 2, 3 from person, and we are bringing up the city. So you look at that. There are 3 characters, and they are coming from the first 2 letters. Maybe PU kit from the Kitchener or something like that. It is bringing up. So if I want 4 letters, I'll say starting from the 1, bring up 4. Look at that. The query is running, and maybe it comes up. It comes up with the 4 letters, and it brings up all those one. Why not if I, maybe you can say distinct city or whatever, but we can just leave that one. Let's move. String functions left and right. Left, select left city 3 from person. Right, does the same thing, but starting from the right side end of the string. So from the left or right, select 3 letters. Let's do that. See here, when we run that one, execute from the left and from the right. If I just go, so from right, select 3 values. And if you see that, oh, it is running all the queries, sorry. So if you look at that, it is just, Kitchener. From the Kitchener, it is coming over here. And this is some country, this is some city where they are ending at these letters. So this is very interesting, the scalar functions we have. So it does the same thing from the right, but this is character index. Character index is search for and search in. So search for MC, Mac, and search in last name. If the character index of Mac last name is greater than 0, why is the filter condition greater than 0? Now what does that mean? If this condition is greater than 0. Now, if I just run that one, and I will discuss that why it is being 0. Now look at that, and if you run that one, so you see that it says that we have that character index greater than 0, and we are saying 1. We said that a string starts from the 1. So if I just come here and I say 1, for example, you see that might be, let's see how many rows the query executes successfully, and no one is, the string starts with 1. But of course, if you look at that, in our SQL Server, we will say it has to be starting with 1. So it is not starting with it should be greater than or equal to. Let's try that out. If equal to works in that, you see that equal to. So now if it has to be starting, it has to be starting with a 0. Make sense, everyone? So it should start with a 0, so that greater than 0. So greater than 0 means it should start with that one. Okay, so now string concatenation. We can concatenate strings in SQL Server, and that's quite an interesting stuff that we can do. Is done with plus. Select last name plus square brackets first name, like a parenthesis, as complete name. So this is very interesting. It will make an aliasing as well, and it will take out the names, and it will just do the bracketing. So we are just doing the bracketing over here. So if I select this one and run that, look at that, Wong, and then the first name is coming up in the, so we have done concatenation over here. So select last name plus this parenthesis, the first name, and as complete name. So complete name is the name of the table, name of the field, and it just brings up that one, right? Let's move forward. Other common string functions, very common. Len for length, L trim from the left side trim, R trim from the right side trim. Trim as string of trailing space, leading and trailing. So from the right side, from the left sides, it will trim out. Lower converts string to a lowercase. Upper converts a string to the uppercase. In SQL Server, by default, all string comparisons are case insensitive. Again, if you string, it's case insensitive. Like again, if you make a comparison between a string, small letter and capital letter, it will just say same, because there is case insensitive. It does not take case sensitivity into consideration. So formatting money amount. This is very important. To display a money amount using Canadian US conventions, cast the value to the money data types, then use convert function to convert the money type to char n, character n, with style of 1. Now see here. This is what? Let's go there and let's run this one. Now let's execute this. Incorrect syntax near that one. Is there a bracket missing or something? Or maybe. Oh, I did not use the select statement. Was there a select statement? It should have, it has to have. Okay. select this one and let's execute that. Okay, amount, cast amount. Amount should be coming from a table. Let's do that. Where does this amount is coming from? Amount should be, okay. Is that missing something over here? Maybe we have missed out something over here. Okay. So amount is again, amount is from some table. I don't know which table this amount is. Can you guess that, or can you, if you know, amount. Is that account? Let's see that. Let's run that one and let's run that. It has just user ID and password. So our penalty.
Payment.
It's payment. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll run that one. Yeah, it has amount, right? Right. So now let's do that from payment. Let's do that from payment. So yes, so this is just, doing what? It is just converting that, like we have not given any column name as basically. So it just, take out that amount as money from there and just, convert that into with the dollar. And the dollar is basically just showing us over here that, we have got this values over there. Okay, so this is basically the one we were talking about. Now that math functions are there, absolute, degrees, like a random number, round, sine, float. These are all the mathematical functions that are available around. Round is important. That round, the query demonstrate rounding the and truncating numeric columns. Select ID, item, amount per semester, round amount per semester 0. So we are rounding that to the 0. And as where we have just as truncated, we are just truncating as well one of the value. Let's do that over here. Let's run that one and see what happens. So I'll just run that and execute the query. So what it is doing, selecting ID, item, amount per semester. It is just running the query and it will round amount per semester to the 0 location as rounded. It might show that one as well as a column. And round amount per semester when truncated. So you look at that, truncated is basically over here. So it has just, truncated out the values. And if you look at that, it is just rounding to nearest value and truncating that one. So when round in the nearest value to 0, it is just going to 5. And when it is truncating, of course, the other side, it is just taking from the to the back, like, it will just, move that from the back. So again, if it is just going over there, so that is truncating and rounding the values. The third parameter of the round function toggles between rounding, missing a 0, and truncating 1. So again, if it is 1, if it is missing, it is 0, or it can be 1 if you want to truncate the values. So random numbers with rand. Rand returns a pseudo-random double precision floating point values inside. So we can select the random numbers, but then you will have to scale that. Then you will have to just, do that over there. So if you look at that, select rand as random number and rand as a random number we select over there. And then you can scale the value returned by rand to obtain a random number between ranges 0 to n, multiply by n plus 1. And we'll see the example. To obtain a random number in the range of 0 to 999999, multiply it by. So we multiply that one with that number, whatever we want to just, add that one. So we can just add a random number in this range will be up to 6 digits long. In that case, it would be, 6 digits long. Multiply it with something like, 6 digits. You can scale the value returned by rand and pad it to the right with the zeros to the create a fixed size results. If you want to create a fixed size result, we can do that. So let's see that. Let random, first of all, let's bring up a random number and then see that how we can access a particular amount of numbers. You can just, see that one. So let's do that. Today it has just generated a random number, which is 0.92. And if I just execute that again, some other random numbers. Now, if I just multiply it, um, multiply this with, for example, 5. Let's do that with 5 and now see what will happen. You see, now it will generate a random number within 5, right? So it says n plus 1, like within 5, it might just reach to one of the random number, maybe 4 something, and it will just keep on generating that number within the 5. So you multiply it. And that's a basic, mathematical formula that we use. And if I multiply it with this one, 1 0 0 0, so there are 6 zeros. So if you multiply it with this one, 6 zeros, 1 1 2 3 4 5 6. Let's see that now it will generate a random number, bigger one. Look at that, it's generating a bigger number with some decimal points as well, and it is just generating those numbers. So this will generate those numbers over there. Data types, as we talked about in the beginning in our first session: date time, small date time 2. You remember date time 2 is that date time offset is there. A number of days can be added to date time column with plus operator. So remember, we have talked about select due date plus 7, 1 week later from DBO invoice. So again, look at that. It will just, bring up a table, and, interestingly, it will just show us with some column, column there. So if I just, run that one and check with this, let's see, query is running, select due date plus 7. It will be 1 week later. Of course, it will be that added, and then it will be from the DBO invoice. Order by due date. We have not discussed order by due date, but we'll discuss order by, which is ascending or descending. If you want to just set up something, it goes ascending or descending. It's taking too much time executing this query. It's taking good amount of time, right? Okay, so it comes up over here. So due date is this one, and 1 week later, if you look at that, it is showing 14. For example, it is doing the due date as the 7th June, for example, and later on, after 1 week, it is showing 1 week later, and it is that basically, it's just like coming up over here. So that is typically what we can use the date and the due date. Date's arithmetic, we can subtract the date. A number of days can be subtracted from date time. And you can say due date plus 7, 1 week, like not plus 7, it should be minus 7, 1 week earlier. So if I come here and I say minus 7, not plus, that's a mistake. And I say 1 week earlier. Now, if I run that one, it will go in the reverse direction as expected. It will go in the reverse direction. Let's do this query run. Okay, still running. Yeah, so do you look at that? It is from the 7th June, it has gone back to 31st May, minus 7. So we can subtract that as well. This is a mistake in the slides, right? It's not, it should not be plus. Date time functions, date add, date difference, date name, date part, month. We'll just talk about most of them. Get date returns the current date, returns the date time type up to 1/300 second accuracy. It is quite an accuracy. If you just want a specific date, you'll say select day, select month, or select year. It will just bring up a specific date or specific day of the day. Use date part to extract part of the date. Remember, we have done that one, date part. Select date part, DP, and column, which column you want to use and what date part you want to bring up. So date part is it can be year, quarter, month, day of year, day, week, etc. And abbreviations are YY. You remember we use YY for 4 times, and then months and all those seconds and everything. You can practice that one as well later on. Look at that. This is date part, day from the column, whatever column you are looking at the date at. So if you look at that, returns the time, hours in 24-hour clock. So HH, MI, and then SS, and then MS, milliseconds, seconds, and minutes and hour. You can always, we can just take that. So let date part Q from the column, and again, it's the quarter from 1 to 4. DY, DW, we have just seen some of them. Year, 2, and get date. It will just bring the year, let's do that one. Date add. Adds a number of units to a given date. So, it will just do that. Look at that, what it will do. If I run that one, and if I just show you running that, so you see that it is showing 15/5/26. It has added 2 years in that date add, right? If I say 2 months, for example, month, and if I add 2 months, right now it was just showing years, and now if I just add months, so you see that it's showing me the month of July, because I've added 2 months. So that date add would add some date to that one. Date dated if determines the difference in the daytime units between the two date time. So if you given two date time, it will just show that. Select dated if year, and dated, like date add year two plus get date and get date. So let's find out the difference between these two. So this is very interesting. And sometimes while you are writing a query, you will need that one to find out the expiry date or something about related to that one. So if you just run that, let's see that what it comes up. It says -2. So for example, this is date difference year, date add year two. So we have just added that 2 years, and what is the difference between 1 year and exactly so. So if I just set it 1 over here, so now I'll have -1 because now I'm going 1 year ahead. So this date difference is a very interesting one that would just find out that one. You can also use date add to do arithmetics. So for example, date add DP number and column. This is very interesting. So we can just add do some mathematics. So date add. So we have this DT, that date part that we have just seen. Number is the number to add, which number you want to add, and we can subtract go back. We have seen that we can go subtraction for the reverse part as well. So date add example, date add day one date as tomorrow, week one as next week, month one as next month, and year last year -1 last year, and one. This is very, very interesting. Student offense, maybe it will just show tomorrow, next day, and all those. You can just, as I said, you can practice that. Date difference to calculate the number of date part units between the two dates. So we can just say date part, dated if, and we will say column 1 and column 2, where DP is the date part code and column 2 is subtracted from column 1. Column 2 will be subtracted from column 1, and it will tell the difference. The value returned is an integer, not a date. So again, it will just return a value that would be an integer value that should be there, right? Okay, dated if example, set transaction date, due date, dated if date, transaction date, due date as days to pay. So again, this is interesting because this is our select query. Let's run that one, and it will tell us that how many transactions or how many things are outstanding. So if I just go there and if I run that one, so look at that. It says that 31 days to pay, because the due date is 7th of June and today is 7th of May, for example. It's showing transaction date as the 7th of May, and the due date is 7th of June. So it is showing the difference, 31 days to pay. Make sense, everyone? If you change that one, it will just do that. It will just do that one specifically to tell how many times is still remaining, right? So now get date returns now. So get date, when we say it returns now in JavaScript, you would have seen that we just say now or date. So it will just return and a date time type, because so get date will return in this time as days since the millennium. So again, we can say get date. So -1/1/2000, how many days of the millennium have happened? So we can just check that one as well. How many days of the millennium has passed? So queries are quite interesting. It's basically they will be just giving us a lot of interesting stuff. So it will just take the current day and days since the millennium. It says that select get date -2 as days since the millennium, and this is basically 191924 and 16/5. So it is just showing that how many years have been passed. So since the millennium 1924 16, it is just showing that particular differences over here. So it returns a weird result 1922 because a SQL server included this number of days since January 1. So it's from January 1, it just returns this type of date. That's why this result is so weird. So casting dates, if we cast the result to an integer, select cast get date as integer as days since millennium. So again, now it will just do do what? It will now return the number of days that we have passed since the millennium, because now we are casting the values as well. So look at that. Let's cast that. So now it will cast the integer as well. You remember we do casting for converting that one. So it says 800, like 8,902 days have passed since the millennium started on first, 2000 January 1st, right? So it says that we can cast that one and it casting will give that. So date formatting that we can do, we can convert function to format the date differently, such as this one. Select convert char10 get date 102. So look at that. Char10 defines the 10 character string, big enough to hold this one. 102 is a style code, and these are the style codes over here. There's the style codes that we can just do the date of. So it says that convert the date to this style code 102. You can look at the complete list over there. What are the different lists? And I will definitely want you to just, do that, the list over there. So now if I just run that one, I would execute the query and it basically does what? The value is returned as a number, like it's a character string. As come as the string, it's not a number, it's not a date. Right, so you can look at that one. So format is there, and again, these are some other formats that you want to use the format function to format the date differently, such as this one, format get date month, and you can always use that. And again, those values are also given over here. So this very much ends this one, and we have just seen some of the scalar functions. And in the first part, we have discussed some of the theoretical aspects. And again, you will find this one also on your course shell. If you are looking at the recording, of course, the other sections, I will just share that one as well for you. So you will see these three things: Scalar PDF document, lecture 2, and week 2, part 1 SQL code. And why not? I would just see if this one, week 2, part 2, so that you can have this query as well, right? So I'll say week 2 and I'll say part 2. So again, you will get this one as well over there. So I'll just upload this one as well. So I'll upload a file. No. Week 2, part 2. It should be there. Now you'll get that one. Okay, so anyone having any questions? And I understand that you may not be able to submit that assignment till now, like the day for today. Only 9 people have submitted. So I'm extending its time till 5 p.m. and you can just submit it till the 5 p.m. But remember, this will be counted as an attendance for today, for both for you guys and both for the next sections. So I'm just extending it till 5 p.m. so you can have 1 hour to just do that, right? So those 9 people who have submitted, that's wonderful. And now there are 10. So I can just look at that one who has submitted. It's Jay has submitted, and Mansi has submitted, Ruben has submitted, and Nayan has submitted, whatever, Maitri has submitted. Wonderful. So you guys have done a wonderful job. Rest, you can just submit that right now. Any questions from anyone? If not, I will be stopping here. This will be 2-part lecture for today, and I'll share this 2-part with the other sections. And next week, you might not have a live session, and I will share the recording on Thursday, maybe after having the live session with section 9. Can I have a yes or no in the chat window? Any questions from anyone? Okay. Any questions, Maitri? Okay, Simarjeet, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining in. Enjoy your day, and I would see you next week now. And again, next week, I'll just come here and I'll just let you know that you'll get a recording on Thursday.